There's only one thing worse than migraines, in my opinion.
What's that?
Chronic migraines.
100%.
Oh, the worst. Migraines are actually quite different to a traditional headache. A traditional headache can be in various different places of your body, but a migraine is specifically a one-sided headache. They usually are quite intense and they can affect other things such as your vision. You can get double vision or photophobia, which is that lights really badly affect your vision and it can create the headache.
I can tell when you get one because your whole side of your face goes a bit weird looking. No offense. I'm like,
insult taken.
Are you okay?
It can be quite visible when someone has a migraine. With a headache, not so much, but with a migraine, quite common. You can also get nausea, feeling like you're going to vomit, and in actual fact, you can vomit if the migraine gets too bad. Some people even get neurological symptoms. So whether it's sort of numbness or an arm or a leg doesn't function 100% hemiplegic migraines, which are awful. But what we're talking about today and what we're trying to help you with is to help you to recognise what's happening in your body and what might be triggering those migraines. Because if you're getting them chronically, the question is,
why?
Why?
Yeah.
Why are you getting them?
Have you taken note of, what could it be? Is it the same thing that's triggering it every single time?
Absolutely.
Or is there a place that I'm at? Something I'm eating, smell, noise?
So I think it's really important to write down a diary of what's happening in your life and particularly what you're consuming orally, because foods can significantly trigger
100%.
migraines. What happens with a migraine is something happens within your body. Usually it's a trigger of food, but it can be a stress trigger where the blood vessels within your body close to your head will dilate and the brain goes, whoa, what's happening here? Too much blood going on, so it constricts them, but too much. And as a result, then there's a lack of blood flow, which gives that pain that you feel in the head. And that then triggers off the symptoms that you get systemically throughout your body, and you end up with a migraine, which is really strange because often the cure to a migraine, and we're going to talk about potentially what could trigger them today, but we have got a video on some tips, some acupressure points you can use, and an amazing a piece of equipment, I guess, that we've devised, which will help to increase blood flow, that really helps to get rid of migraines very, very quickly on our YouTube. The link is down below. You can find that in our on our website as well. But what we're trying to decide here or talk about here is what is triggering these to occur. The actual cure for migraines in the traditional medicine drug world is actually to give you something that then dilates your vessels again. So something like coffee, for example, is a common trigger for migraines. It can cause that vasodilation of the blood vessels, which then constricts suddenly when you're a migraine sufferer. It doesn't give you enough blood flow. You end up with these cracker migraines, and then you can take a coffee tablet, believe it or not. It's called Caffegot. That is high amounts of caffeine in one tablet, which will then dilate the vessels again to make sure that you're getting enough blood flow to help take away that pain that you get from a lack of blood flow. Crazy, right?
Yep.
Absolutely crazy. But there are other things. So we want to talk about a couple of things that may not be well known. One is glutamate, in monosodium glutamate, MSG. You've probably heard of that before. It's a really common flavour enhancer.
Yep.
It's in a lot of Chinese cooking and a lot of like the sachets that come with the 2-minute noodles, that type of...
it's in a lot of things you wouldn't really think about. A lot of... now you can look at, a Chinese menu or whatever and it'll say no MSG.
No,
and you're like, yep,
no
awesome.
added MSG.
Yeah.
Interesting, because it does occur naturally as well.
But there are other instances where you're consuming it without realising.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of it's made from a salt, actually. It's made from the glutamate. So if you have things sort of sprinkled on your dishes to try and enhance flavour, or something like those flavour sachets, particularly, they can certainly trigger off migraines as well. And believe it or not, it commonly occurs naturally in tomatoes, believe it or not.
Yeah,
so not something you would think about that might trigger your migraines, but certainly be mindful. I know that I reject a little bit to hear that healthy foods can actually trigger these things, but unfortunately in some cases they can. Yeah. So the other thing is salicylates, talking about naturally occurring foods that can. Salicylate is actually something that is on a fruit, devised particularly to get rid of insects from consuming those fruits before they're ripened and ready to go for us to consume, and also to prevent other types of diseases. So it's like on the outside of, say, for example, a strawberry, as the ripening process occurs on the vine or on the plant, eventually it's almost ready to ripen, and the salicylates are then taken back into the body of the plant rather than being left in the fruit. So then we pick the strawberry, for example, and then when we eat it, it doesn't have a lot of salicylates in it. But unfortunately, the way that we're producing food these days is we're pulling things off the vine or the plant before they have ripened to allow them to ripen in the transport process as it gets to Woolies or wherever it's going. And as a result, those salicylates remain in the food, and then we consume them. So you're getting a higher level of salicylate in your diet. It doesn't end up back in the plant. It's incredible though. It goes back into the plant, and then when it produces its next lot of strawberries, it goes back into that strawberry to prevent
You just
it.
imagine it.
It's incredible. But unfortunately, that's not good.
I mean, hearing all of this, I eat so many berries, all kinds of berries, and tomatoes. I should be the biggest sufferer.
Yes.
So not everyone is affected by these foods.
But that's true. Berries is one of the common, most common
Plus
salicylates.
dried fruit.
Yeah, dried fruit.
Sultanas.
Grapes are a big one of them
Currants.
there. Dried to make all
grape.
of the above. So
Anything that are great, like, currants. Anything a grape could be dried as, the little berries, the plums.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Plum pudding.
citrus products as well. So these are things that you need to look at. When you're writing down your diary and you put down what you've eaten for the day, yes, I had a migraine. Okay, take a look at that. And then in a week's time, when you've possibly got another migraine, take a look and see if you can see any of these particular foods that we're mentioning that might trigger off. Oh, yes, I had tomatoes that time and that time. Don't forget that tomatoes are in pasta sauce. I don't think a lot of people think about it, but that's why it's red peas, right? Tomato paste as well. That's like highly concentrated, so there'd be a lot of MSG
And
in
if
that.
you're eating a lot of cereal that has dried fruit in it,
Yeah,
you could be consuming it without actively going and purchasing
dried fruit.
a packet of dried apricots, for example.
Very true. The other thing to think about too is amines. Amines are what happens when a bacteria starts to break down the amino acids within a food over time. So amines tend to be in foods after they have sat for a period of time. I don't know if you've never ever noticed, I'm sure you have, how a banana goes from one particular colour and it gradually gets more and more and more brown. The longer that
banana bread,
and the flavour is enhanced. Like it really is. Like I say,
cool,
that,
that's banana-y.
I shouldn't say that. Too enhanced for me. Enhanced to me is a positive thing. Really ripe banana is too much for me. I'm like, well, that is way banana. It's like you need half a banana.
Oh, it's just like.
But the more the browning process happens, the more this bacteria has fermented the amino acids, the more amines therefore are in the product and therefore more likely to trigger a migraine. And this is true of any type of fermented food. So even organ meats have got them, like your liver, pate type stuff, as well as processed meats. So you've got to be careful of those types of product. Cheese is the same, it's got these products in it as well. So just be mindful that these can trigger, food trigger migraines.
Down a cheese platter.
Be what?
And then you've got a migraine.
What's on there?
Grapes as well.
Like it's got the
dried
tomatoes, it's got the dried apricots.
Yeah, have a plate of migraine. Just serve it to your enemy.
That's it, yeah. Great. So these are the types of things that we need to have a look at, and also be mindful of what you're sleeping, how much sleep you're getting, because I think when we're all stressed, when we sleep at night time, our stress levels, our adrenaline and our cortisol levels are reduced as we sleep. Naturally, that's what happens, as well as repairing and regenerating, of course. But this is really important because stress levels can affect the constriction and dilation of our blood vessels and therefore can trigger off migraines as well. So it is super important to take a look at what's happening in your body. How much water are you consuming? Have you got enough blood flow in general? And also, like I said, check out that video that we did on being able to stretch the neck to help relieve migraines, because that might make a big difference to you being able to help get rid of these chronic migraines. So sorry if you're suffering from those. If you know of somebody who is suffering, please make sure you send this to them, because it might be just the thing that they're looking at and go, my God, I eat dried fruit all the time. Never thought it could trigger off my migraines, and maybe that's why I'm getting so many of them. So please share the love. We're doing this so that we can help as many people as we can be pain-free. So thanks for having us on your therapeutic journey.